I come to the floor today with both a great deal of energy and a sense of relief. Relief that it appears that we've reached a bipartisan agreement to reopen the government, pay America's bills, and give us a path forward to deal with the ability to negotiate on some of our long-term fiscal challenges. I come with a sense of energy because I think it shows that when there's a will, we find a way, and this seems to be a sensible approach to do this. I have a sense of optimism that this spirit of compromise that produced this new agreement will continue in the Senate as we work together. Mr. President, I'm so relieved that we're going to extend the debt limit at least to February 7th, 2014. During this entire debate over the last several days, I just was so apprehensive that America would become a deadbeat nation. I was appalled, like so many Americans, that 4 of our soldiers who had fallen in the line of duty their families were not going to get their death benefit. And the wonderful Fisher family that's been so kind and so generous to our veterans paid that. This is the United States of America. We have a duty to our military. We have a duty to our military families. And we were going to not be able to do that. And that was just one example. I was concerned that our T-bills, our famous Treasury bills, that have not only been part of the fiscal underpinnings of the global economy, but also have given confidence to modest and conservative investors. Well, I'll invest in T-bills because nothing will ever happen to our government. I was concerned that our T-bills would go the way of junk bonds. So now, because we've extended the debt limit, we've agreed to pay the bills on debt that we've already incurred. This is an excellent way of moving forward. I also am pleased that we're going to have, as part of this agreement, the reopening of the entire government. This means that our government will be on a continuing funding resolution to January 15th, 2014. Now, this will enable us to really set the framework for what our funding will be for the rest of the fiscal year. Now, remember why we are in a shutdown of our federal government. The presiding officer is a member of the Appropriations Committee. I chair that committee. That's the committee that actually puts money in the federal checkbook for the entire fiscal year. However, we're not wild spenders. We have a cap placed on us, and that's to come from the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee sets the budget for the entire federal government. It sets what the cap should be on discretionary spending. That's the Appropriations Committee. On mandatory spending, which are programs that must be funded, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits, and others, that no matter what, they are to be funded. And then they also set what revenue we should have and where we should get it. So the Budget Committee is absolutely crucial so that we can get on with our work. I'm pleased that there's been a commitment from the leaders to appoint conferees on the budget resolution so that the Budget Committee can do its work and give back to we appropriators no later than December 13th what our cap is for the spending for the entire fiscal year. If we can do that, we appropriators can do our job. I'll say more about what that appropriations is. Now, this is going to be a really tight schedule. The Budget Committee, which has been unable to meet because 6 senators used their parliamentary tools to block the Budget Committee meeting, even though the Senate passed with over 70 votes a budget on March 23rd. So we've now kind of wasted 6 months. So we don't want to waste the next 6 weeks. So I'm pleased that there appears to be the ability for the Budget Committee to meet in conference with the House of Representatives. That means the chair of the United States Senate Budget Committee, Senator Patty Murray, and the ranking member or vice chairman, Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama, will meet with Paul Ryan, the Republican in the House, and Chris Van Hollen, another Marylander and a very able ranking member of the Budget Committee there. And I wish them well, because we need to have how much discretionary spending we're going to have, and we need to be able to look at mandatory spending, and we need to take a look at revenues. But right now, if we can pass this agreement arrived at by our leadership on both sides of the aisle, the Democratic leader, Senator Reid, the Republican leader, Senator McConnell, we can, within the next hours, reopen the government. We can pay our bills. These are our constitutional responsibilities. The American people deserve a government that works as hard as they do. We need to put our federal government and our federal employees back to work. This agreement does just that. It says to the American taxpayer and to the entire world, America is not a deadbeat nation. We can work together to enact bipartisan, fiscally responsible legislation to keep our government going. There is no doubt that we have significant fiscal challenges ahead of us. But, Mr. President, as we get prepared to vote on this, I would encourage all of us to take stock of what has happened here the last several days. It's time that we take stock of where we are and what it means. The crisis that we've just lived through might be very good for TV ratings, but it's lousy for credit ratings. Good for TV ratings because the nation was gripped by what they saw. They couldn't believe it. I was here working, and I couldn't believe it either, that we could not, in a straightforward way, come to grips with the fact that we needed to reopen government, but we were being held up for those who wanted to defund Obamacare. Now, this crisis of the shutdown of the United States government and the fear that the United States government might not pay its bills has created a crisis of confidence. As we work on implementing the deal that we're promoting, we have to also work to ensure that we rebuild the confidence of the American people and those who depend and look to the United States government, who are treasured allies and emerging nations that we say, be a democracy and be like us. We've got to use our time not only to get our fiscal act together, but we have to restore the confidence in our ability to govern. America is a middle-of-the-road nation. We need an environment where the middle speaks, where the middle class now speaks up and say, please represent me and meet our national security needs. Make public investments in physical infrastructure and in human infrastructure, like education and access to higher education. Please make public investments in research and development that'll come up with the new ideas for the new jobs for this new economy in the 21st century. That's what they want us to be able to do. And for those of us here within this great institution called the United States Senate, and over on the other side, the House of Representatives, We have to be middle of the roaders. It is the middle, maybe a little to the center left or to the center right, but we have to be in the middle. Middle of the roaders are the ones that help bring us to this deal. I want to just thank those who put forth some other ideas during this debate. Senators Collins and Senator Klobuchar and the so-called Group of 12, they had some very interesting ideas. And as we go forward on implementing the deal, we should take a look at some of them. But they helped create a climate and a tone where people showed that they wanted to be pragmatic, and they also wanted to be patriotic, which is to make sure that the esteem of the United States government continues to take hold both among our own people and around the world. I want to be sure that we all work together. I fear that the middle-of-the-road legislator could be an endangered species. I hope not. I hope the middle-of-the-roaders don't become roadkill. And we can show that right now, because it's not only the deal that's been made, we must vote on the deal, and we must pass the deal, and then we need to implement it. But America and its government cannot go from one crisis to another. We cannot govern by crisis. We cannot govern by one party or the other extorting it from the other, my way or I'll shut it down. We have to show that we are a deliberative body. We have to show that we are a nation of laws and rules, not of people, personalities, and pundits. We have to show that. So I compliment those that have been voices of moderation and voices for creating the climate to bring us there. I'd also like to thank our leadership for willing to step up to the plate and be leaders. I would like to thank Senators Reid and Senators McConnell for the leadership and statesmanship that they showed. We were on the brink of brinkmanship. We'd had enough of gamemanship, and they stepped forward and showed us what statesmanship is. So I want to thank them for what they did. Now for me, I say this. I chair the Appropriations Committee. That, I'm not a solo act. I have wonderful subcommittee chairmen, 12 subcommittee chairmen. They are eager and itching to go to work. I have an outstanding Republican conservative as my vice chairman, Senator Shelby of Alabama. We want to work. We want to work together, and we want to work with civility, mutual respect, get the job done. And I want to say to my friends on the other side of the dome, we want to govern. We want to govern wisely. We want to govern efficiently, and we want to govern respectfully. So I say to my colleagues on my side who've elected me the chair of this committee, you can count on me to do my best. I say to those on the other side of the aisle, you can count on me to continue to run an inclusive committee of discussion, open debate, amendments, so that we can really move our process forward, where everybody feels included, everybody has their say, everybody has their day. And at the end, though, of the day, we will vote. And to my colleagues on the other side of the dome, let's really work together. We have shown in the past that we know how to talk with each other, we know how to listen to each other, we can get the job done. I believe America wants us to get on with it. They want to be able to have a government that they can count on. They want to be able to have a government that works as hard as they do. And they want to have a United States Congress that acts really in the interest of the nation and of the next generation and not of the next election. So, Mr. President, I'm ready to vote for the agreement arrived at by our leadership. I'm ready to go to work, and I'm ready to do everything I can to make sure that we follow the middle of the road, that sensible center, and to make sure the American middle class has their day and their say. Mr. President, I yield the floor.